Hey folks, Justin from Tackle Tactics. Today on the bait school, we are going to rig a bait that scares a lot of people away. But for me, this is one of the best bream baits that you can get your hands on. But it's also deadly on trevally, grunter, flatties, all sorts of species will eat mullet gut. Okay, so mullet gut. If you're catching a lot of mullet yourself or you're filleting a lot of mullet to eat and that sort of thing, you may be able to gather your own mullet gut. Otherwise, most tackle stores will have mullet gut frozen in a packet like this, and that's ready to go and ready to fish with. So again, generally what I will do is at home, I will remove the bait from the packet, dispose of the packet, and I'll take this mullet gut and I'll put it into a couple of plastic containers that I can get out throughout the session and fish with. So really gross, such good bait for bream. Bream, they're scavengers, they love this sort of stuff, and it puts out a lot of scent in the water as well to attract the fish. So I'll just pull one gut out here to show you what we're dealing with. So this is a mullet gut. So it's made up of a couple of different sections. So on this mullet gut here, you can see our frozen gut here. Inside here, there is a hard section. So we can pull away the soft section of the gut. So that's what I'll refer to as the soft section of the gut, which is the intestines and those sorts of things. The other piece that we'll find is this guy. So this is a hard lump in there that you'll find, and they call that the onion. And I guess it's sort of oniony shaped and that sort of thing. So that they'll refer to as the onion. And we'll deal with the onion second. Firstly, we'll bait up a bit of the soft gut. So the soft gut, you can tear a piece off with your hand, or you can grab the knife and cut yourself a piece of gut there. So I've just got a nice chunk of mullet gut there. Now when we're putting this on the hook, basically we don't want all strands and pieces hanging off the hook, otherwise the fish are just going to come along and pick off those bits and pieces. So we want to get this into a nice ball on the hook. So again here I'm running a Baitholder hook. Again, soft bait on this Baitholder hook, it'll keep it on there nice and firm for me. So I just start basically by starting to secure the bait. So I'll just roll it over, flip it that way, flip it back that way, turn it over. I've probably got a little bit bigger bit here, but you'll get the picture. So basically I'm just tucking everything onto the hook, onto the hook, onto the hook, and then you'll start to see you've got a few daggy ends. These are the bits that a fish are going to use to pull the bait off there without you hooking them. So you want to get these daggy end bits and tuck them back up onto the hook. Tuck that back up onto the hook again. Go around here, we'll tuck that bit on there as well. And basically now we've got a nice ball of gut on the hook, just ready for a fish to eat it. So that's a beautiful bait there to attract a big bream. Also a variety of other species, trevally and those sorts of things. This is where your bucket of water and your cloth come in handy as well, because you don't want to be eating your sandwich after you've baited that hook. So I'll generally keep that bucket handy, you know, and my little bait towel so I can rinse my hands, and we're ready to go. Now we can handle our reels, get our bites, catch our fish, and we're not covered in gut. So that is a beautiful gut bait. I really want to go and throw that in the water, which we will do in a minute. But before we do that, I want to show you how we rig that onion bait as well. So there you go, that's our soft bait. You can see even though that's a soft bait, because we've tucked all those loose ends back up onto the hook, back up onto the hook, we've left no straggly bits, so that's just a good mouthful for a big bream. Because it is such a solid sort of sturdy bait as well, we'll show you when we fish this one that you can let the fish bite, they'll pick away at it a bit until they get serious, and then once that rod goes down, especially with these Okuma Barbarians, that nibble tip, that soft tip, let them eat it, let them eat it. Once that soft tip goes down, we'll set the hook and we'll get our bream. So I'll clear that back off the hook. So that's our gut, soft gut section of the mullet gut. An excellent bait for bream, dead set, beautiful bait. So we'll put him in our plastic container. We're going to go and give that a run on the brimbos. Now, our onion. Lots of people fish this in different ways. You'll find some people will just fish the gut and onion together on a hook and that sort of thing. I just like to, oh, we're still a little frozen. I like to chop the hanging bit off there, and you can use that as a bait. Inside here, we've got a fair bit of sand and junk we want to get out of there, so we'll hang on to that for burley. And that leaves us basically with an onion there, and you can see, you can basically sort of poke your finger almost right through it and out the other side. So what my dad taught me to do when I was younger, so if you want to, you can just slice that. You can slice that up, you can chop it into chunks, whatever you want to do. But one thing my dad showed me to do when I was a kid was to take your knife and basically we're going to peel the onion. So we're just going to go around and around the onion, keep following it around, watch your fingers with the knife as always, and we'll just keep going around. And depending on the size of the onion, you might get a few laps, you might only get a couple of laps around that onion. Try not to chop right through, just keep working your way around that onion. We're peeling the onion, and eventually you'll come into the middle where there's no meat left on that onion, and we'll just basically chop into the center of it. And so what we've now got out of our big lump of stuff that was hard to use for bait before, we've now got strips of bait. So we've got these nice strips of bait that look much more attractive than a big lump of a bait. So look at that, there's a nice strip of bait there and there's a nice strip of bait there. So that makes it much easier to put onto the hook. So what I'll do there, I've probably got 3 baits there. And basically with our hook, so we've got our Baitholder hook here once again. So with the onion, I'll go this medium sized piece. So basically with the onion, all I'll do is I'll pin it on there, spin it around, go on again, spin it around the hook, and we just basically just keep pinning it and spinning it. Pin, spin, and we work it onto the hook. Then when we get towards the end there, we can just sort of push it all into place. We've got our bait holders to help hold it into place, and then you've got a nice meaty, fleshy sort of piece of bait on there that'll attract a bream and get a few good bites on that thing for sure. So that's the gut onion. So we've got our soft bit. We know with our soft bit we just keep feeding it on, don't leave those daggy bits. And then our onion, we can cut it into these strips that allow us to feed it onto the hook. You could feed it on like a worm if you like, but I've always just fed it on like that. Same thing, you can get a few bites until that fish commits, and then you can set that hook and away you go. So that's a good hardy bream bait, and we'll also catch a bunch of other species as well. So if you find, you know, the kids are losing the softer baits like the yabbies and the prawns and those sorts of things too easily, yep, as gross as the mullet gut is, it makes a brilliant bait for bream and an excellent bait for other species. So we've got our onion here, we've got our soft gut section. I reckon we grab that container and we go and see if we can catch ourselves a bream. Okay folks, so we have picked a nice edge to fish our mullet gut bait on. Basically it's a weed edge going into the channel. We've got run-in tide, so we'll have to get stuck into it before we lose our flat here. Gear wise, we're fishing a couple of 9-foot Okuma Barbarian rods, rated 2 to 6 kilos, so nice soft tip on these, plenty of grunt in the bottom end. We're fishing a 9-footer because that's going to allow us a long cast out into the deeper water. It's also going to allow us to maintain that line, manage it, and keep it up above the weed. So line management much better with that longer rod when we've got a weed edge, so we can keep the line up and not catch weed so much. In terms of rig, we're running a running sinker rig, basic rig. So basically the sinker runs freely on the main line and runs down to our swivel. So that is designed so that the fish can basically not feel so much resistance. They can pull that line through that sinker and not feel the weight of the sinker. The swivel will stop it there, and this allows our bait to swing around freely on our leader. So leader wise, I generally in the estuaries run sort of 30 to 60 centimeters of leader, commonly 50 centimeters like I've got here. If the fish are really finicky, you might stretch that out to a meter or more even, for giving that freedom of movement of the bait so the fish feel less resistance to that on the bait. So sometimes you will step it up to longer leaders. Again, if you're fishing longer leaders, more finicky fish, sometimes that longer rod will help with casting those leaders as well. I've got 10-pound Platypus Pulse Mono, 10-pound hard Armour leader here. Having a separate leader material with me means I don't have to keep cutting into my main line all the time. And hook wise, we're running a Baitholder hook to hold that soft gut bait on. And commonly in the estuaries, I'll fish a size 642-110 is pretty much the range that I fish for bream and whiting and those sorts of things. And this hook here is about a size probably 4, which is just a nice starting point. 4 or 2 is a good size. You know, you might go a bit smaller to a 6 if you want to use less bait and get the kids onto a bunch of fish, even if they are a bit smaller. Okay, so our plan today, we've got 2 rods. We're going to have one in a rod holder here, and that's going to have our onion bait on it, the hard onion bait. I'm going to put a softer piece of mullet gut on to this hook, and I'm going to hang on to it and see if we can catch ourselves a bream. All right, a couple of touches on the gut bait now. Don't want to be in a hurry where the gut bait is durable, so we can let the fish chew on it a bit. Oh, there we go, and we got him. So that fish was picking away on that bait for a little bit, just playing with the bait, and we gave it some time. Tighten that drag up a little bit. We gave it some time to eat that bait. We've got to bring it up over the shallow weed edge here. So if you find you're not getting the casting distance you want with a 2-ball or a 3-ball, you know, you can throw in a 4-ball or heavier and throw that long cast out there. Not a giant brimbo, but they love a gut bait. And the good thing about that gut bait is its own burley as well. So that gut's in the water, letting all that oil and that sort of thing out in the water, and these fish can't resist themselves. So if you want to catch yourself a bream, yeah, it's hard to go past the mullet gut bait. My favourite when I was a kid, these daggy bits of bait that are left over, you can throw them out in the water and they'll create burley and bring more fish to you. Watch the spikes on the brimbo. So there you go. Not a big fish, but if you fish your gut baits for your brimbos, you're sure to get stuck into a few. Let's send him back out there. There, buddy. Good fun. All right, another bite there. It's getting more serious. Oh no, did I go too early? You don't want to go too early. You want to give that fish time to eat the bait. I went a bit early on that one, but he might come back. So we're just feeling, I've got my fingers on the line so I can feel the taps. There's the taps coming back again. He's back on it again. We just wait for him to get a little bit more serious. So at the moment he's just tap, 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 tap. We want him to tap, 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 pull it down a little bit more. That way we know he's got the bait in his mouth. We can set the hook. Doesn't feel very big, this one. We just picked a nice channel edge here. Pretty much anywhere where there's drop off over a weedy edge, you're a chance of a brimbo. So we're just fishing a channel edge. Uh-oh, I think we've got him. Oh, another little tucker. But your gut bait definitely won't sit out there for long before you get a bite from these guys. Bream love a gut bait. Our gut works as a burley for them, attracts the fish, and we get the bites. We'll persist a little bit more and see if we can get a big one, but you can see how effective those gut baits can be to get a bite on that weedy edge and around those sort of areas where you chase bream structure and those sorts of things. All right, let's get him back in the water. There we go. We got the down that time. You can see he was just biting on it, and then he just decided, no, this is going down. And he whacked it. Oh no, what are you, buddy? Solid. That's alright, we don't want a stingray. Here he goes, he's up over the edge of the channel now and coming into us. A little bit loose on the drag on that set rod. Come here, buddy. He looks a better fish. Oh yeah, he's a nice bream. There you go. The gut bait. You never have to wait too long for a bite, I find, with the gut bait. Oh, so there you go. That's just, you know, fishing a channel edge, just fishing off the end of the bank here. That's a nice legal bream. So he's a decent sort of solid sort of fish. So there you go. I'll get that hook out of that fish and I'm going to send it back out there so that you guys can come and catch it. That's a nice bream on our Mullet Gut bait. To check out more bait videos, make sure you go to tackletactics.com.au and also check out Tackle Tactics TV on YouTube. Fish on. Oh, what have we got on there? That was just getting a few taps. A few taps on that one. And then down she went. So there you go, that's half a dozen gut baits out, half a dozen bites. This one's a flatfish, there you go. So we were talking about how gut baits won't just catch bream. That guy was biting really subtle, and that's why he was just laying on the bait. There you go, nice flatty. Off to terrorise someone else, so there you go. A few bream and a flatty, gut baits. A nice piece of gut. All right folks, there you go, a quick little session on that gut bait. We fished about half a dozen baits and they all got bites. We landed a couple of small bream. We got that nice solid legal bream and also that nice little flatty that Caitlin got on that gut bait as well, showing you can't just catch bream on mullet gut. Mullet gut's great for all different species in the river and estuaries. If you want to check out more bait and lure fishing videos, make sure you check out Tackle Tactics TV on YouTube and also check out tackletactics.com.au. You'll find loads of articles, loads of video links, plenty of knots that you can learn and also the different rigs that we use when we're out there fishing. There you go, tackletactics.com.au. Get out there, get stuck into a few fish. All the best. Cheers.